minutes. I know it's tax season. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and it's great to have everybody in here. Thank you
Yes,
for being here,
appreciate you.
Diego, Mr. Lopez, and Franco when he gets back. Um, yeah, let us know where you're following us from.
Hey,
We always
Melvin.
want to know. Yes, sir. Uh, yeah, there we go.
We got Melvin Smith.
Melbourne, nice. So let me make sure that we're streaming live on Facebook.
Melvin, what are some of the new situations you're seeing on your end?
Okay. Yeah, there we go. So we're live on Facebook as well, our social media platforms. We're live on YouTube, LinkedIn. Thank you everybody for taking some time to join us today. Today we're going to be going over Ask Carlos, Mr. Lopez, our CEO and founder here at Latino Tax Pro. But before I start with the introductions, I want to welcome everybody and thank everybody for taking some time to to join us today. I know tax season is upon us. There's a lot of changes, and one of the questions that we've been getting a lot here through our membership program, Ask a Tax Pro, is the overtime calculation, who qualifies for that. So today we're going to be going over that, and today we have our accountant here, Luis Franco. He's the one that that basically writes our checks with
Yeah.
the here. And then one of our, if you don't know him, or you may have talked to him, we have Diego Ruiz, our MBA and also tax preparer slash salesperson. And finally, our CEO and founder of Latino Tax Pro and Lopez Tax Service, Mr. Lopez, Carlos. Um, that was a quick intro for you guys. Unless any of you want to say a little bit more about yourselves, Diego, Luis, Mr.
No,
Lopez.
I
you
just want to
good.
thank all of you for being here today and to be informed.
Yeah, and thank you for letting us know where you're following us from. We have LA, we have Turlock, Dallas, Templeton, San Francisco, that's up the street from us. Um, yeah, we want to know how tax season is going for you guys as well. All of you following us on social media, let us know where you're following us from. What challenges have you been encountering? And we're going to try and tackle as many questions as we can today, primarily on the overtime. But with that said, Diego, why don't you kick us off today?
Yeah. Thank you, Vince, and everyone again for joining us, taking the time on this busy tax season. And one of the things that to me stands out are the new changes with this one big beautiful bill, Vince. And one of those changes specifically is the overtime income deduction, right? Who qualifies? How do we deduct that? And where do we apply it? So that's one of the hot items that I've been seeing with my clients. And Mr. Lopez has a situation right about this overtime.
Yes, I'd like to start off with I was asked this just 2 days ago on Wednesday. A client asked me, what do I do if I get my W-2 and when I compare it to my last pay stub, the overtime amount is different. My pay stub has a higher overtime amount than my W-2. Which one can I deduct? So my answer, and this is according to IRS guidelines, is deduct the amount that's the highest. So on your pay stub, use the amount that's on the pay stub for overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Then what I recommend you to do is go back to your employer and have them fix that W-2 because you want to be ahead of the game. If you don't fix it and the IRS gets it, your tax return, and it has a different amount on, Schedule 1A for overtime than what's on the W-2, you're going to get a letter and you're going to get a correction. And then you're going to come back and say, well, what happened? And we're going to say, okay, go show us what your employer gave you. And if you don't have it, you got to get ahead of the game. If you're going to do something different than what's on that reported W-2, get ahead of the game, get that request in, and this way you can at least tell the IRS, look, I uh, went back to my employer, I went back to the HR department, and here's my request, and I'm still waiting for the answer. And that's what I recommend to do.
Awesome. And that's great advice, Mr. Lopez. And that's from a taxpayer perspective. How about for us in the office? For example, everybody that has an office, the receptionist, whom should be communicating this information to the taxpayer?
Well, I believe that should be you, the tax pro. If you're preparing that tax return, you need to have the answers.
And I would add to that, Mr.
Okay.
Lopez and Vince. As a tax preparer, it's our responsibility to ask these type of questions to our clients, right? Did you work any overtime in 2025? If the answer is yes, automatically request the final pay stub. Do your clients that favor, right? Look for their legal deductions that they have rights to. So how do we calculate that? I've been working on that. Franco and I have been working with clients to calculate that rate, right? And the formula, the way you calculate it is you take the regular rate, you multiply that by 1.5, right? For example, let's say your taxpayer gets paid $40 an hour. $40 times 1.5, your overtime rate is $60. Okay. So how do you qualify, or how do you calculate the qualified amount? You take total overtime worked in the year, you divide that by the overtime rate, in this case 60. And for this example, we're going to use 15,000 as the total overtime income earned, right? So we'll take 15,000, we'll divide it by the $60. We're going to get 250, right? That's a qualified amount. Now that's one figure in the formula. To get the other part, we have to take the difference of the overtime rate and the regular pay. So regular pay was 40, overtime was 60. We're going to take 60 minus 40, gives us $20 difference. We take $20, we multiply that by 250, gives us $5,000 of overtime deduction. And that's how we calculate that figure for our clients.
Awesome, Diego.
So,
That's great. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Franco.
yeah, let me just jump in here. So that was a good calculation. That's exactly what we've been using to calculate some of these overtime rates. Since it's the first year of this, a lot of the W-2s have the incorrect amount, just like Mr. Lopez was mentioning. So it's important that you ask for that pay stub and get this calculation, right? Also important to mention that there is a limit. Diego and I ran into this maybe a couple days ago, where one of our clients had $44,000 or something like that of overtime throughout the year. And when we used the calculation, it was about $14 of deduction, right? That we calculated. However, his amount was 12,500 because that was his limit. So it's important to mention that there are limits to it. It's not endless. The deduction is not endless for overtime. Yeah, that's just a point that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Franco and Diego. How about for people that don't don't get overtime? For example, an exempt employee, and maybe Franco, can you explain a little bit more what is an exempt employee?
Yeah, so an exempt employee is essentially someone who doesn't qualify for the overtime rate, and that's typically a salaried employee. And I know everyone has heard that before. Typically, you're either a salary exempt employee or an hourly employee. These ones that qualify for the overtime deduction are obviously those ones that are not salary and exempt employees.
Yeah, thank you, Franco. And then back to again, I know that we can't deduct, let's say, for whatever reason somebody has 30,000 in overtime that may qualify for it. Does the IRS have a limitation on that as far as the 1A goes? If you're single or married?
Good question, Vince. Yes, so the limitation, it's per taxpayer, and the limit, Franco mentioned, was 12,500 per taxpayer. So if they're married filing jointly, they're entitled to 12,500 each.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's it's always great to have this type of communication with not only us among the community, tax preparer community, but also to extend it out to the employees, to the employers that may not even know this. I know that as far as our bookkeeping clients, sometimes they're not aware and they rely on us to let them know what the changes are. And I still find it surprising that some of them still ask us, what do you mean? When did this change?" And it's been out for a while. So I don't know if you guys have encountered any of that or any of those fun stories. But at this point, I would like to invite, as we keep continuing, our audience to ask any questions. We'll be answering these questions of what you've encountered, any issues. If it's software issues, we can't really do much about that. You might want to talk to your software provider, but as far as the questions themselves, we can definitely help you guys out. So we invite everybody to submit those questions, and we'll answer as many as we can within this allotted time that we have. But anything else that you would add, Mr. Lopez or Franco?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to say, if you're going to ask a question, please ask it on the questions and answer, the Q&A, so we can see them. And there is a question there. Can the final pay stub be used if no amount is shown on a W-2? And that is yes. You can use that amount to fill in the Schedule 1A.
Awesome.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good one. And thank you for that, Shirley, for that question. And then we have Evelyn on another question asking here, on the last pay stub of 2025 year, show total overtime paid during the year. When we enter that amount on the overtime W-2 part, gives us a deduction amount. Is that okay to use that?
Yes, that's what you have. You know, like I said, it's only, you know, if there's a huge difference, but yes, that's your proof. So this is brand new this year. So the IRS knows there's going to be a lot of gray area, but that pay stub is gold.
Yeah, one thing that as far as our procedure here, and right now I'm in one of our tax offices, and one of our procedures here, we have our receptionists, as they're confirming the appointment, they're asking, in addition to all the documents that we need, is bring your last pay stub. Or we tend to have a lot of correctional officers in this area as well. So we're like, hey, bring your last or your pay stubs, and then we manually calculate it. It is more time consuming at times. However, it just extends as far as us building a relationship and really trying to maximize the refunds for our clients to see what they qualify for and doing things right. That's what we're all about. So we encourage everybody else to ask for those last pay stubs, especially if they know that they're getting overtime, and if they have a question. We're also here to help out. And we do have a couple more here from Gessie. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that correctly, but um, hello. How about when a client has different types of overtime, like double time or premium time?
Yes. Yeah, so that also counts. Great question. That does count. You do have to calculate according to the figures, and then you had a follow-up question. Where do you input it? So it goes on Schedule 1A, Part 3, and you'll see there on Part 3, line 14, it'll ask you to input your numbers, and that's where you're going to go ahead and enter that.
Awesome.
And then, if you don't mind, can I jump in here? I want to go back to a question because I'm not sure that we totally understood it. It says on the last pay stub of 2025, show total overtime paid during the year. When we enter that amount on the OT W-2 part, does it give us the deductible amount? right? So no, if you put that total overtime that's shown on the pay stub and you put that on the W-2 line 14, it's not going to calculate the deductible part. This is why it's so important to use the calculation that Diego mentioned earlier, right? If you put that total overtime amount, that is not the deductible part. It's only a portion of it. Okay?
Correct.
There you go.
Cool. Thank you for clarifying that, Franco. Um, so about correctional officers, why do they list that total OT twice and also the double overtime? And can we add it all together? Would it have to be, I'm assuming it have to be separately, right? Because we have overtime and then double overtime. It had to be calculated in a separate sense. Diego?
Correct, Vince. Yeah, you do have to make those calculations with the correct figures, and then keep in mind only 12,500 of overtime is deductible. So anything over that won't count.
Awesome. And then can you please repeat about for people that doesn't qualify for overtime credit? That probably the exempt.
Yeah, so these are the exempt employees. For example, I'm one of the exempt employees. I get paid a salary, right? I have a biweekly payroll of the same amount, whether I work fewer than 40 hours or I work over the 40 hours. I get paid my same paycheck. Those are the type of people that don't qualify for the overtime credit deduction.
Sorry, Franco.
You're good.
We'll get them next year.
Um, cool. Thank you for that. And then I think back to that previous question about the premium. Do you add it all together or together or separately? And it was if it's regular overtime rate, Diego, overtime gets calculated separately, and then double overtime gets calculated within those figures.
Correct. And then you combine them and see if they're less than 12,500.
Perfect. And yeah, in the social media platforms are Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you're following us from. Submit your questions as well. We do have one from Lisa. I'm gonna jump from the questions to the social media one. Does it matter if a spouse has an ITIN when filing for overtime and tips and credit? The wife has a social security number and her husband has an ITIN. Will this be an issue?
Well, it will be for the I-10 holder because they don't qualify for this new deduction. But the spouse that has a social security number, she can deduct it.
Awesome. And thank you, Lisa. And no need to apologize. We have these questions here. That's why I'm here moderating, so I can get these questions out to the team. So feel free, anybody else that's following us in any of the social media platforms that's not in the Zoom platform, feel free to submit your questions and we'll get to them as quickly as we can and get the team to answer them. And then we got these ones. So with the total amount of overtime on the last pay stub, can we put the full amount in the software under no tax on overtime, or do we divide that total by 3?
Yeah, because remember, the total amount of overtime includes regular time plus half of regular time. So only the overtime part is what's deductible.
And short answer, Lakeisha, a portion is deductible, and that's a third. A third of the overall overtime income is deductible.
Yeah. And that is for regular overtime. There's some other questions that are double time, and the double time would be by half.
Great question. Great
Yeah,
question.
these are good questions. Lisa said, "Hola Diego, you signed me up a long time in LTP." So quick shout out there for Diego. And then So we have Janine right here saying I have divided the double time by 2 and the overtime divided by 3. Is that the correct way to do it?
Janine, I would follow up with you after so we can kind of get a more thorough look and see what you're looking at.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Janine, you can email us or Diego, do you mind dropping in your email in the chat? And Diego's gonna submit that email in there and help out. For those of you, I think is a great segue for this is for those of you that are members, you can always use our Ask a Tax Pro at latinotaxpro.com. We have updated our email since I believe we were back in October when we updated our email. So it's not at Ask a Tax Pro at latinotaxpro.zendesk or whatever that long email was. We shortened it down to Ask a Tax Pro at latinotaxpro.com. For those of you who are members, you can submit those questions. If you need guidance or know where to find that email, you simply log into your Prendo 365 account. Upper right hand corner, if your membership is active, you'll see and have access to that email. Again, that email is askataxpro at latinotaxpro.com, and one of our enrolled agents would actually be answering those questions. And you can submit them in English or in Spanish. We do have enrolled agents working on those constantly and monitoring them. So we do have that going on right now. And if you're not a member, talk to Diego and he will set you up with that. So we have a little bit more questions here. If we have the W-2 overtime in box 14, we will need the check stubs to verify.
Well, what we're saying is you're a tax professional and your clients depend on you to get them the maximum amount of refund that they're entitled to. So it's not mandatory, it's not in the law anywhere. What we're saying is be the best tax professional you can. Ask for that pay stub just to verify. And you will be a hero to your client for the rest of their lives.
And ask for referrals.
And ask for referrals.
Yeah. Uh, so we have another one from Shirley. For a married filing jointly, one taxpayer has 14,500 for tips. Can that be deducted? So we're going to be focusing mainly on overtime right now. For tips, again, if you're a member, you can submit your question to Ask a Tax Pro. If you're not a member, you can visit our website or talk to Diego. He left his email here in the chat. I'll also include it in our social media platform so you can email him directly. And then here's a good one.
Can I answer it? I'll
Oh
answer
yeah.
real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Eligible workers can deduct up to 25,000 in tips.
Perfect.
But it is going to be our discussion for next week, next
Mhm.
Friday.
That'll be our next topic.
Yeah.
So make sure for everybody here and spread the word, let people know to get those and gather those questions so we can tackle them as well. Um, here's a good one from Franklin. What would happen if I make a mistake?
Oops.
An amendment, right?
Yeah, you'd have to amend the return if you file it.
And then somebody wants a repetition of the overtime calculation. Diego, are you able to do that again?
Yeah. Yeah. So the formula, and I'll give some numbers here to have an example, right? So let's say for this example, taxpayer regular pay is $40 an hour. Total overtime that they made during the year was 15,000, right? So let's start with the formula. So to calculate overtime rate, if it is not on the pay stub, you're gonna take regular pay, you're gonna multiply that by 1.5, and that's gonna give you $60, right? So overtime rate is $60. Now you're gonna calculate what is the qualified amount for overtime, right? So you're gonna take total overtime earned, $15,000 divided by the overtime rate, which is $60. That's going to give you qualified amount of 250. Now, That's one part of the formula. To get the second piece, you do have to calculate the difference in pay, right? So you'll take overtime minus regular pay, and that's going to give you 60 minus 40 equals $20. You're going to take the $20, multiply that by the 250 of qualified amount, and that's going to give you $5,000. Basically, it's a third of the overall income, right? So that's the long formula. But I would recommend the long formula just for verification purposes.
Yeah, I think it's for the accuracy, instead of just relying on I guess the short one would be dividing it into thirds.
Mhm.
But the ideal way would be or the correct way should be the way you're mentioning it, Diego, just to make sure that and ensure that the accuracy is correct.
And another thing, how Mr. Lopez was saying, Vince, be the best tax preparer, right? So if you're able to explain how you came up with this calculation to your client, uh, it may or may not blow their mind away, but they're going to say, oh, they know what they're talking about. They know how to give me my max deductions, and they're going to be loyal customers for a long time, clients.
Yeah, definitely. Accuracy is a huge thing, especially here doing taxes, so we can avoid any uh, I don't know if avoid should be the right word to say, but or at least be as prepared as possible. If and hopefully not, but when an audit happens, we know exactly what happened in that tax return. So accuracy is definitely something that we encourage, and yes, this may take a little bit more time, but at the end of the day, you're gonna feel way better. Your client's gonna have a better explanation, and you're gonna be as accurate as possible. Anything else you guys want to add to that?
I just want to mention this calculation. It works for regular overtime and it works for the doubled overtime. It works for the premiums. That's why this calculation is the base to any overtime deduction that you might calculate, whether it's regular overtime or double overtime. You can use this calculation, and that's because it's just regular rate and the double overtime rate or the OT rate, you get the difference of that, and that's one variable to the equation, and then you can calculate based on the year to date amount based on that. So I always say, just like Diego said, go back to this formula, and your numbers will be spot on.
Cool. It looks like we answered a few of these questions all at the same time. So, uh, and I guess to kind of do a follow-up question on that, Diego. So do we pull so do we still put the full amount in the system and the system calculate it, or do we just enter the third of it?
The third of it.
The third of it.
Third of it, yeah.
Cool.
At least this year, right? It won't calculate that. It won't do the math for you. So you do the math.
Yeah, and it's always as our standard practice at Latino Tax Pro, and especially for those that are starting brand new. Um, we have the theory, and we also give you the practice. So for anybody that's starting how to do tax returns, and it's amazing to be able to explain a return to your client, and tell them, you know what, this is why you're getting this deduction, or why you don't qualify for this anymore, or you pulled out some money from your 1099-R, and it was before your 59 and a half, and you don't have any other qualifications that that won't get the 10% penalty. It's always great to be able to explain that versus, well, I don't know, that's what my tax system says. I mean, which one, if you're a client, which one sounds better to you as a client? So that's one of our standard practices here at Latino Tax Pro, which is not only did we show you the theory, but also the practice, put it into practice. And that's how you're able to also explain that over time to your clients. Am I missing something, Mr. Lopez here?
No, but people are asking how do they calculate premium over time? So I'm looking that up right now. So according to Professor Google, Premium overtime is commonly the half in time and a half paid to employees for working beyond standard hours. So it represents the 50% increase over the regular rate rather than the full hourly rate. So what you're going to have to do in this case is make sure that you understand how much is their regular time. Is it $10 an hour? So overtime would be $15 an hour. So in that case, only $5 is overtime, right? So if it's premium overtime and it's another time and a half, it's just the part that's over the regular pay. So you'll have to get a spreadsheet and figure it out by hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So hopefully, you guys here in the chats, let us know if that makes sense or any clarifications that you guys are looking for. Um,
Hey,
but we're gonna, yeah, go ahead, Diego.
but Vince, sorry to interrupt. I'm reading one of the questions that UVL asked for the tips, and just to clarify, UVL, we're going over the overtime rate. So the overtime formula does not apply to the tips formula. That's different. They're two separate.
Oh, okay, right here. Yeah. So, do you guys have this information on Steps Online, or I guess the formula? Do we have a formula that we can share?
We have I put my email up there. Send me an email when you guys can. You guys have a chance, and I'll send the formula.
Awesome. Alrighty. So we have here. I think we answered some of these questions. Some of the questions are came in, and one of the explanations that Diego was going over again, the calculations, we pretty much answered a lot of these questions. And we did have a premium question from the overtime, but Mr. Lopez, you answered that. And we're here at our 30-minute mark. If you have any other questions, please submit them. But anything else that we should be aware as tax professionals, Mr. Lopez, or any guidance, any advice that you would have for us?
Yeah, I would just want to add that someone is asking for Diego to spell out that example he gave about 250 hours. Remember, we're just giving you an example. We're not giving you the actual use this for everybody because it won't work for everybody. What Diego gave you was a what if. So just remember, overtime is time and a half, and it's just the half that's excluded. If it's premium overtime, it's just time and a half plus that premium part. It's not the regular pay. So we're just giving you examples, and it's really simple when you break it down to time and a half. It's the half, and it is limited to $12,500.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leave
Yeah,
I
it.
hope
Mr.
that
Lopez.
helps.
It was just
Yeah,
an example. Don't use that for everybody. Just
No,
an
don't, please
example.
don't, because no,
Yes.
it's just an example.
yeah. So for those of you asking for the Diego's email, it's in the chats. If you're here in the Zoom platform, if you're on our social media platforms, I'm putting that here now. And Diego, be prepared. Just a quick heads up, you might get a few emails.
All right. And I hope everyone becomes VIP members here with us, and we look forward to seeing you at the fest.
They
All
will
right.
once they email you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about
Yeah.
you
So
guys, but that's what I'm thinking of right now. The fest. Just,
yeah. So and that was a question. I was saving this before we transition into that. Um, uh, but as we do, Mr. Lopez, I wanted to ask you what's new at the fest this year.
Well, what's new at the fest this year, it's the year of empowerment. And what we want to emphasize this year is network to net worth. Surround yourself with people who have actually done it. So this year, what we want to emphasize is not just CEs, but CEs from the perspective of very successful lawyers, CEOs, other CPAs, financial planners. We're going to have breakout rooms with all those types of leaders in there for you to sign up for. Because we feel that in order for you to be more successful, surround yourself with great people. And we're going to have those great people there. And the other part of that is going to be you will be the great people there when you show up. So network to net worth, surround yourself with great people.
Yeah, definitely. This year we've been planning it. We've been hearing your your feedback, your comments, and every year it's also an opportunity for us to keep growing, not only as a company but as a community, and bringing in everybody for networking for that growth. We definitely want to make sure that you're able to reach um, the full potential to be able to scale your business. And how do you do that? But yeah, how do you do that, Mr. Lopez?
Well, a lot of it has to do with taking classes like this. You're here, and I'm so proud of everybody who signed up for this presentation. These are the kinds of things that you need to do to enhance your skills. And one thing that one of my professors at UCLA used to always tell us, go to conferences, go to professional conferences. That's where you're going to learn from very successful people and other great people. You can't learn if you don't surround yourself with great people. And that makes a big difference in your life. And at Latino Tax Pro, that's what we have always strived to do every year, is to make it a great conference and to surround yourself with great people and have a great time.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, Mr. Lopez, also bringing in solutions for your office. Um, for example, if you're in need of payroll, HR services, we have companies that can bring that. Your tax software, um, if there's anything that you may want to demo a different one, we definitely have different options out there. Everything and anything that you can think of from as far as a tax office perspective, we have it. We have people that come in with life insurance, with uh, tax software, the bank products, or the banks themselves do come out to our event. So the list is too long to spell it out. So I invite everybody to come into latinotaxfest.com and check it out. We tend to have about 90% of our exhibitors returning, but for those that are and have seen what we've done and are looking into an opportunity to come and exhibit, we do have that. This year we have what we're calling Startup Bro. Do you want to go a little bit over that, Mr. Lopez, the Startup Bro?
Yeah, yeah. Most of the people that are here today are entrepreneur or at least entrepreneurial spirit. You know, we're tax preparers, we have a tax practice or a tax business, and we want to participate. Maybe you have a invention or maybe you have a service that you can provide to other professionals. So we've taken a play out of Salesforce's playbook and we're calling it Startup Row. So these are little, they're kind of like a booth, but they're half price, less than half price of a 10 by 10 booth. So you can go in there, be part of a national conference exhibit hall, and be able to demonstrate what you can do for others. So we want to make sure that if you're a startup, we want to give you a chance to present your product or your services to other professionals. that are going to be there at the fest this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's always a great opportunity. If you know one of our vendors that are sponsors, partners that do come out, for example, a lot of them are familiar with ADP or EPS, Refund Advantage, Drake Software. These are our preferred partners, my tax prep office. Feel free to reach out to them and see how it goes out for them. Even our newest one, new exhibitor, so they have a lot of great things to say. We can sit here and tell you why we're great, but we would like for you to also reach out to them and ask them. I'm more than happy to help you out with that as well and answer any questions. That's basically what I do and help out around here. And and if it's your first time and you want to know what should I bring or how should I get ready for this event, email me. You can find my email in our exhibitor packet, latinotaxways.com exhibit, and download our packet, and you can see all of our branding opportunities. We can also set up a budget for you guys. But yeah, that's what's new this year. We're doing a little bit more advanced topics as well, and we're going to be releasing that schedule soon. So as we finalize it. But anything that else that you wanted to add, Diego or Franco?
See you guys at the pool party and the fest.
Yeah, we have a few surprises for that as well. Um, anything else, Franco, the event or as far as the overtime subject today?
I was just going through the list of questions and stuff. Diego did put a formula in the chat. I answered some of the questions typed, um, but I think we covered most of the questions. It should be a pretty clear thing for you guys to calculate this now, with the resources we've given you verbally and what we attached here in the webinar box, chat box. So yeah, see you guys at the fest, and we're gonna have a great year this year.
Any last closing words, Mr. Lopez?
Well, I just want to ask everybody that submitted a question. Did you get your answer?
Yeah, as we
It
give
looks
everybody.
like you did, because nobody
Yeah.
else has been asking.
Oh, no. Yeah, and as we get some of these answers back, or whoever's still here, um, people are still asking for your email, Diego, and we have a
Okay.
yes, thank you. Uh, yeah, we wanna close this by saying thank you for joining us today and taking some time out of your busy day and busy schedule. Or if you're gonna watch this, this will be recorded and it'll be in our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you happen to see this. Welcome and thank you for joining us and thank you for taking the time to actually watch this video. And as far
We'll
as
be here.
next week,
Oh yeah, next week.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
say, yeah.
Go ahead,
And as far
Vince.
as that, we're gonna be here again next week, same time, 11 a.m. Friday. Tell your friends. We'll open up our newsletters. That's where you'll find the Zoom link registration, so you can come in here and ask these questions. Of course, we always have the social media platforms. So if you still want to have a little bit of a join it in whenever you have a chance. But other than that, we'll see everybody here next week and get your questions ready or any situation that may happen. And our team here, our panel, is going to be answering those questions. Thank you, Diego, Mr. Lopez, and Franco. And see you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone, and
Thank you,
thank you,
everybody.
Vince.